Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. I don't know what it will do in the next 3 months, but I'm optimistic about the market for at least 2, 5, or 10 years. I had a long time when I wasn't sure about the item. I asked myself, what if another currency turns out to be better? What if the whole space gets so crowded? But after I learned more about the technology and why it's built the way it is, I really started to see the network effects. Since early 2020, I've been pretty structurally high on it. And that's still the case, after more than 4 years. Lyn Alden is a well-known and respected investment strategist and macro analyst in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world. Not only does she have a great understanding of financial issues and how they affect asset prices and the economy as a whole, but she can also explain these complicated issues in clear, simple language. Alden has a unique background in both business and engineering. Every tweet, article, and interview she posts shows how much she understands and loves Bitcoin and blockchain technology. As shown in her 2023 book Broken Money: Why Our Financial System is Failing Us and How We Can Make It Better, Alden has a lot of knowledge about the big picture of the world economy. In this book, she goes into detail about how the global financial system is broken and how it makes billions of people poor while quickly making the richest 1% richer. Even though we have access to a lot of energy and technology advances that have made our lives a lot better, Alden says that our money system is still broken and out of date. On the back cover of the book, it says that the world's financial system is like a barter system, with more than 160 different currencies, each with an authority over its own area. Most of these currencies lose value quickly over time and aren't widely used outside of their own countries. This makes it hard to move money across borders and causes problems with jams and frictions. Alden says that being from the wrong place makes it more difficult to save money than it should be. Alden says that weaker currencies will finally lose all of their value, leaving today's strong currencies weaker tomorrow. For now, the US dollar and other major currencies are still worth a lot more than weaker currencies. That being said, the US dollar could end up like the Venezuelan bolivar or the Lebanese pound. This is why people who support sound money, like Alden, think it's time to update our old money system. They want to get rid of a system that relies on debt and is prone to inflation and replace it with one that values scarcity, deflation, autonomy, and easy payments made through a strong digital network. All of these things are true for Bitcoin, of course. With Bitcoin becoming more famous around the world and the current state of the world's economies, Alden thinks that the US and the rest of the world. These kinds of 2- or 3-tier controlled money systems are hard to set up and keep up. In the US, things have been pretty good for at least the last 50 years. Our money slowly loses value, and we have many ways to put our savings. For instance, Egypt does not have the SP 500. Their stock market isn't a good place to trade or build wealth, so they don't have that. Real estate is what they have, but it's not easy to sell. There are a lot of bad things about that. Since inflation has been over 10% per year on average for the past 50 years, it's clear that they can't spend much in their own currency. And that's what Bitcoin and stablecoins do. With a stablecoin, you can wire money to someone who holds dollars or T-bills, for example. Then they'll give you tokens that can be exchanged for dollars by at least big businesses. In that way, they're kind of like digital bills. People and businesses that aren't big enough to redeem them can still trade them around. And the major benefit is that it lets countries that have always wanted dollars get them because they wanted a stable currency that was more stable than their own, but not as volatile as gold, Bitcoin, or something similar. As long as they have a smartphone, it makes it easier for them to get dollars and stores them digitally. That's why they're so famous in Argentina, Lebanon, and Nigeria. There are about 160 different currencies in the world. All of them are monopolies in some way. For this reason, you must trust the Nigerian central bank and the Nigerian government with their money if you are in Nigeria. You can only bring a certain amount of value into or out of an airport because the borders are pretty tight. There are a lot of rules about how bank payments work, and they are often done at exchange rates that aren't really the market rate for that currency. With Bitcoin and stablecoins, I can pay a Nigerian graphic artist in any currency she wants if she shows me a QR code on a video call. She could ask for Bitcoin or stablecoins that are pegged to the dollar, and it would be sent to her through her local bank. She can then use that peer-to-peer. If she ever leaves Nigeria, she can take it with her everywhere. She also has more options for the money she uses when she doesn't have a hold on it. Bitcoin is that thing, but it is completely autonomous and very hard to get. That one isn't, because it doesn't have a center hub. You have to deal with the fact that it changes value more quickly, and you don't know what it will be worth in, say, 1 or 2 years. The problem with stablecoins is that they are fully controlled by a single group. The funds are held by someone or something, and you have to trust them. You also have to believe that they can work in a regulatory atmosphere. But I would say that they are like foreign bank accounts for working and middle-class people, not just the rich. They just cut down on the costs of running one of those systems. For example, if you're in Argentina, you might not trust your government to run the currency. Sometimes, even if you store dollars in a bank, they can take them away. This could make you not trust them. But they say, well, I'll trust this offshore company with small amounts of working capital. But I don't see how Bitcoin could be useful for an American right now. Yes, so one thing about money is that you hold on to it even if you don't plan to use it yourself. In terms of history, that's where money came from. For instance, when we hold a gold coin, we don't necessarily plan to melt it down for jewelry or industrial use anytime soon. Instead, we're keeping it because we know that other people use it. A place to store value. From your point of view as an American, we don't usually have trouble with bills or even savings. Our options for safe ways to save money are plenty. But if you think about it in terms of how it could help billions of people around the world, then about half of the world lives in a way that is similar to tyranny. Half of the world lives in places with constant double-digit inflation, and our lifetimes will see several hyperinflations. Americans tend to think of Bitcoin more as an investment, and over the last 3, 5, or 10 years, it has done better than the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and almost everything else except Nvidia. In the US and Europe, it's often seen as an investment, which I think makes sense. Not so in, say, Africa, where there are about 40 currencies, or Latin America, where there are about 30. Each of those currency lines is a problem. When people invest in those currencies, they do so because they know there is a use case, even if that use case doesn't apply to them. Most of those currencies are not desirable to keep. For sure, I believe that the things we talked about earlier are to blame for this more persistently high inflation. That doesn't mean they have to happen right away, though. Things don't have to end because of that. The Congressional Budget Office says that over the next 10 years, $20 trillion in net bonds will be mailed out. Also, they think there won't be any recessions. It's likely that number will be higher during recessions. Usually, they come up short of the number. Let us be safe and say that $20 trillion worth of treasuries are going to be released. Taking today's prices into account, the amount of gold that will be mined over the next 10 years is about $2.50 trillion. And about 70 billion bitcoins will be made at the present price. Naturally, the prices of gold and Bitcoin can change so that more money can come into them if people want to. If you're just asking, what do I want to own, that's pretty rare. That's pretty much the point. It's clear that good stocks are one of the choices. One choice is to buy good real estate. In the past, art was an option, especially for rich investors. But Bitcoin is also a good choice because it's liquid, can be exchanged for other things, can be taken with you, and its new supply growth rate is lower than that of some other liquid investments. I believe that in the United States it is mostly seen as an investment, while in other countries it might be seen as a lifesaver. I'm optimistic about the market with a view of 2, 5, or even 10 years from now. I don't know what it will do in the next 3 months. I had a long time when I didn't trust the object very much. I asked myself, what if another currency turns out to be better? What if the whole space gets so crowded? I became structurally positive on it in early 2020 after seeing the network effects really take shape and learning more about the technology and why it's built a certain way. That's still the case over 4 years later.